Imagine a meeting. People are discussing some project and a way to move forward. But you are noticing that people are becoming passive aggressive. They are not really open to other people's ideas. And you avoid talking about the problem to keep it smooth. And things do remain smooth. But the conflict that was shoved under the rug by being not talked about it shows up towards the end of the project deadline. And then things get slowed down, things get delayed, and you didn't achieve what you had set out to do. Hello there, this is Yogi. As a career coach, I help people do their life's best work. And whatever comes in the way of doing the best work, we work through that. So people feel free, motivated to do the best work and then accomplish and fulfilled. Today, we are talking about how facing conflict can give us a peace of mind, and that peace makes it easy for us to focus on what we need to focus on and be accomplished and fulfilled as a result. In short, how peace increases our focus, our results, and our fulfillment. Imagine a meeting. People are discussing some project and a way to move forward. But you are noticing that people are becoming passive aggressive. They are not really open to other people's ideas. And you avoid talking about the problem to keep it smooth. And things do remain smooth. But the conflict that was shoved under the rug by being not talked about it shows up towards the end of the project deadline. And then things get slowed down, things get delayed, and you didn't achieve what you had set out to do. In order to keep the short-term peace, we give accomplishment and fulfillment in the long run, and even productivity. Today, let's talk about how working with the conflict head-on in the moment will help us be accomplished and fulfilled. And that is what the power of peace is. Now let's talk about the distraction of conflict. When we have conflicts which are not handled, they don't just disappear. They turn into lingering issues. They turn into people double guessing themselves. They turn into passive aggression or aggression sometimes. And these unresolved issues can steal your productivity. When you face conflicts and work on resolving them, you get the power of concentration back. You can actually focus on things beyond the conflict, on the common goal. Let me tell you a brief story about my childhood. Growing up, our family was not particularly good at dealing with conflicts and working through them. Whenever conflicts arose, we just shoved them under the rug and never talked about them. And that made me a very anxious child growing up. And that anxiety brought tension and in the long run, even depression in my life. At the same time, I also did very well academically, partly because I wanted to get away from that conflict as much as possible, and sometimes even for extended months, I was able to focus a lot on my studies because I could see if I don't study well, I will be stuck in the same cycle over and over again. But as I mentioned, even though I was able to go away consciously from that stress and tension for a while, eventually this did take a toll on me. And I spent years and years of my life in therapy and then afterwards in coaching and self-cultivation and working on myself. And I've seen it with so many people now in my work when I have deep conversations with people. In the short term, these conflicts really motivate people. They power people to prove other people wrong. And people do very well in their life, in their work, in their career. But after people have achieved success, what I've seen is they start to get tired of proving other people wrong. And they want to experience that peace and really live a life on their own accord, not a life where they are trying to prove other people wrong. And many times what I've seen is by focusing on helping people work through conflicts and achieve peace in the moment, not achieve peace when they prove other people wrong, they start to become really focused on what really matters in life and start to experience what I call fulfillment, not just success. So in my work with people, I found it to be a good idea to start to work through the conflicts, either external with other people or internal within ourselves, in order to bring about peace and focus on what really matters, not focus on the priorities of other people. What I'm trying to say here is that by focusing on resolving conflict, not on avoiding them, we develop the preconditions to do our life's best work. And many people think we can just avoid conflict and not engage with them, not deal with them. And that's what I call the illusion of avoiding conflicts. What I've noticed in my life and the life of people I work with is that avoiding conflict often leads to even more distraction mostly inside our head. There is a lot of infighting happening in our own head when we avoid conflicts. And the infighting that happens inside of our head is probably the most insidious facet of avoiding conflicts. There is a Zen teacher who says, wherever you go, there you are. And your mind is always there. Wherever you go, you can avoid conflict, but the internal thought process that is going inside of your head is always with you. You cannot avoid that. It's actually a losing battle to keep conflicts under the rug, because with enough pressure building inside, the conflicts, they do come out, albeit sideways. For example, it could be passive aggressive, it could be a sarcastic tone, and it could be a variety of other ways. It comes out sideways, not directly. And while it is coming out sideways, and it keeps the focus, your focus and the focus of people you're working with, away from the topic at hand, but on the conflict. And this way, the avoided conflict takes a lot more energy than it needs to take. And that is the illusion of avoiding conflicts. Let me give you another analogy. Life is like a marathon, and same is doing your best work. If you want to do good work, you gotta be in it for the long haul. And just like a marathon, if you want to be in it for the long haul, you want to remove as many distractions as possible. Distraction of the new food, maybe the distraction of the new environment, or distraction of the new route. Similarly, if you want to do your life's best work, and that is the long haul, it's like a marathon. You want to remove as many distractions as possible, and conflicts are an obvious distraction you can remove easily. Speaking of life as a marathon, I've seen a couple really good examples of how when people were able to remove some internal distractions from their life, they were really able to achieve spectacular things in life. One example that comes to my mind is that of David Goggins. He was a Navy SEAL, and he went through a really traumatic childhood. And he talks about in his book, Never Finished, how until he kept the internal conflict going on with his father who abused him, he was never able to go past and realize his own potential. Once he was able to let go of that conflict, then was the only time he was able to focus on his own life goals, what he wanted to do. And his life is a testament of how much he was able to achieve once he was able to let go of the distraction and the conflict inside his own head with his father. Another example that I think of is Louis Champerini, on whose life the book Unbroken is written, and how when he was able to forgive his perpetrator from World War II, that's when he was able to reach the state of redemption and real peace, and was able to focus on the future, not on the past. The more I learn about my own life, the more I realize that once I'm willing to let go of the conflict, to resolve them, to work through them, that gives me the focus and the energy to concentrate on the future and not on the past. So this video, I hope now you see that there is a lot of benefit in resolving and working through the conflicts instead of avoiding them. Now the question is, how do we do that? I have another video that I made last week which talked about a few mindsets that we can adopt in order to approach the conflicts in an empowering way. And some of the things were having the right mindset, slow down when we're approaching conflict instead of going fast, because slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and also focusing on long-term relationships. But this video has not been about specific strategies and tactics that you can follow to approach conflicts in an empowering way. For that, I would like you to check other resources. For example, the video that I mentioned, or a workshop I'm hosting in the near future that will talk about more strategies and tactics and the action items you can take to start to engage with conflicts in a productive way. The link to that should be in the description below. If you're watching this video before the workshop, I would invite you to come to the workshop or watch the recording of the workshop. I strongly believe it would be very beneficial for you if the conflicts are constantly coming to your mind and you're not able to focus on what really matters in life. So let's now wrap up our discussion of how working through conflicts increases peace, and then that increases our focus, which ends up in increasing our success and satisfaction. We talked about how there is a power in feeling peaceful inside of us and with people around us, which helps us do our life's best work, and how conflicts are distractions. We might think we can shove them under the rug and not think about them, but they really have long-term detrimental effect on our well-being and on our success. I also shared my own story about how avoiding conflicts in the short term actually made me more successful, but in the long term led to struggle in my own life. And then we also shared the story of David Goggins and Louis Zamperini. When they were able to let go of the internal conflict that is going on inside of them, they were able to focus on bigger and better things in their life, and they were able to realize their own potential. So I hope now you see that the peace is a big prerequisite in doing your life's best work and realizing your potential. And for you, I would like to invite you to reflect on this for your own life. I would say pause this video for 30 seconds, a minute, and reflect how increased peace in your life can lead to you focusing on what really matters to you. And then once you have done that, I would like to invite you to come to our workshop or watch the recording, where we will talk about the strategies, the mindsets, and the tactics for how you can view conflicts as empowering and what can you do to engage in conflicts in a productive way. I can say this about myself. Once I became confident that I can handle any conflict in a way that is kind and productive for the involved parties, my own energy has gone up significantly. I used to be very anxious, afraid, nervous, and now, because I'm not afraid of conflicts, my energy is that of invitation, not that of avoiding. And even my physical and mental energy has gone up significantly. That's all for now. If you have any thoughts or comments, I would love to hear them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.